Hello everyone and welcome back on Verism TV. Today we are in Bali, Ubud, Indonesia. It's holiday, you can see that. I'm not shaved, but well, it's like that. Today I'm really happy to have a special guest with me. His name is Richard. He's one of the first European instructor of the Wim Hof technique. And yesterday we have a wonderful workshop with you. So Richard, thank you very much for your time today.
Very welcome, it's a pleasure.
Can you first of all introduce yourself? Introduce also who is the Iceman? But everybody, I think everybody nowadays knows who is Wim Hof, and talk a little bit about his technique.
Sure, so yeah, my name's Rich. I'm English, been living in Germany for 10 years, now resident in Bali, kind of moving around. I discovered the technique almost 2 years ago, did the same online course as anyone else, and quickly realized the power and potential of it. I used it to cure my own autoimmune disease, which is life-changing.
We're going to talk a little bit about that.
And yeah, I quickly realized the potential of this method. I was moving into life coaching myself and wanted to do something more of impact. Signed up to become an instructor, not realizing I'd be one of the first in the world outside of the kind of existing guys in the Netherlands. So that was a really exciting move, and ever since then I've mainly been doing that, kind of traveling around and doing that. The Iceman himself, Wim, is as everyone knows, is a real character and just a genuinely inspiring individual, and in person unbelievably humble, as well as kind of, you know, childlike and inspiring. It's just like this great mix of I mean, the word guru gets bandied around a lot, and I don't like it.
But yesterday, the child name, the child word came out yesterday during the workshop, and I think it's a really good adjective for him, right?
True. He's like a sort of mini Buddha. He's a very peaceful guy that can kind of really look through you, and he's been through a lot in his life. He's created this method himself, and his mission now is, as is mine and so many other instructors, to get it to as many people as possible. Because we can all essentially self-heal through breath and cold exposure. And it's now that it's scientifically backed up. I think that's why it's creating so much interest in the Western world. Which we need science to kind of take things seriously, which is okay, you know. But it's that, I think it's why it's taken off so well, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Beautiful. You mentioned a little bit about your autoimmune disease, and the really interesting fact about this briefing technique that everybody, we're not going to explain in details what is the briefing technique. Everybody can find out on the internet, but the really interesting part is that you can be in control in some way of your autonomic nervous system and then your immune system, which the autonomic nervous system, it's by its name, is autonomic, so we are not supposed to be in control of that. We are not supposed to be in control of the heartbeat and how we digest and anything else. But with this breathing technique, Wim Hof, he's able, and this is wonderful because not only him, everybody can do that and really change his life, fight against autoimmune disease or really heavy troubles, healthy troubles. So can you just talk a little bit about your own way to fight your disease? How is your health right now, and if you have any other testimonies about that?
How long have we got?
Yeah.
Okay, my own personal journey. So I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called ulcerative colitis about 11 years ago now. It was not a lot of fun. It was very painful. It's, for those that don't know, it's where the immune system essentially breaks down and starts attacking itself. It's not a million miles away from Crohn's disease. To give people an idea, it wasn't life-threatening, but definitely life-altering. No matter what I ate was, you know, highly problematic and triggering, and the underlying stress was kind of the actual cause of it, although we didn't understand that at the time. So I guess over years I taught myself about nutrition almost obsessively to try and experiment and reduce stress through yoga,
I know that.
meditation. Exactly.
I hear you.
And it's, I mean, you can spend so much time, and nutrition is such an important thing to know about. And yet what I found personally, and I'll make that clear, it's my own experience, I'm not promising anything, but in that I've been able to reduce the inflammation and cure my own autoimmune disease through this technique. The food that I eat now doesn't matter. It doesn't trigger. It's no longer a problem. And the freedom that has given me, you know,
this is wonderful.
Is a beautiful thing. Instead of being obsessed and can I eat this and not knowing if today will be an issue. Or
this
not.
is a really, really big thing right now. I think so, because food is, and we can experiment here in Ubud in Bali. You can find any vegan restaurant, a lot of healthy places. Everybody is going crazy about food right now. Me the first. If you have any health problem, I'm gonna ask you, what did you eat last time? Well, it's the big thing right now. But it's so, and you said freedom, it's so wonderful to find this freedom about getting away from food and finding other ways to not to cure you, but to be able to be healthy. And the hormetic, which I talked about in other videos, hormetic response of the body, the adaptive response of the body when you're exposed to cold, when you're exposed to hot, when you intermittent fasting, when you do high intensity interval training, are so good for us. It's so interesting to be aware of that, of those processes. So I got lost in my in my word, but it is really interesting about your the control of the nervous immune system, because basically when you're doing the breathing technique, when you have cold exposure or hot exposure, you're triggering neurotransmitter hormones made by the adrenal glands, for example, adrenaline, noradrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine, which are lowering TNF-alpha, pro-inflammatory cytokines, and leveling up the good ones, the anti-inflammatory ones. Basically, you're controlling your immune system. This is really, really interesting, because nowadays we are living in a state, we are constantly in a chronic stress, and we are not designed to do that, to experiment that. We are designed as animals to experiment like a really shocking stress, a strong stress, and then a good sleep, a good rest, and not being stressed all day by your boss, by your family situation, by do I have enough money until the end of the month, etc., etc. Because yesterday you had a good question from someone in the class. She said, I don't understand. You said that adrenaline stress is not good, and now you're saying that stress, a strong stress is good. There is chronic stress and there is acute stress. Can you a little bit talk about that, the difference? About, well, there are a lot of different stresses.
Yeah, I mean, stress is good for us, right, in small amounts. I mean, the balance of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. You know, if we were constantly in parasympathetic, we would have no motivation. We'd be walking around and like just coming out of a yin yoga class our entire lives. You know, and we need certain amounts of stress in order to kind of achieve certain tasks in the day. Homeostasis, or the fancy word for balance, is that's the key. You know, so as you said quite rightly, today's society is way too much in stress. Like chronic stress then kind of causes inflammation. You know, it's the other way around. Inflammation is a result, causes chronic stress. You know? So on a daily basis, we can deal with a certain amount of stress as long as we balance things out. So adrenaline and cortisol are very important hormones. And then people are, oh, it's terrible, it's bad.
Exactly.
There's a lack of understanding. Understandably, because it's a complex subject, and if people's information is coming from posts on Facebook, and I mean, let's not get into fake news, but there's so much information out there that it's difficult for people to really understand what's going on. I mean, this is a complex subject, that's why people will study it. You know, it's called medicine, and I've got a glimpse of what's possible from a perspective of Wim Hof, the method itself. And as you said, that it's a complex subject, and people are starting to it needs time to explain in a workshop. If you really want to go into the science, and people do, understandably, it's like, why am I doing this again? And so without repeating that whole conversation here, essentially, the Wim Hof Method is producing a controlled response, you know? You're not kind of like running into traffic in order to you know, produce chronic amounts or large amounts of adrenaline. That's hyper dangerous, and your body will be in shock. You know, you're sitting there in a very relaxed state, deep breathing. You know, and that deep breathing, increased heart rate, the breath holds. There's different releases of hormones at different stages, and it's a very controlled and intentional process. Just like kind of getting into the ice bath, we're shifting from sympathetic nervous system deliberately into parasympathetic. Much like that's kind of the idea behind a lot of yoga as well. You know, we're trying to do these very tricky poses, and through the breath, presence, awareness, mindfulness, all that jazz, we then shift into parasympathetic. That's kind of the real beauty behind the method. You know, it's not teaching us to kind of live always in deep breathing extremes or freezing cold extremes. It's teaching the body that, here are these extremes. We're going to kind of gently step out of our comfort zones to experience them, so that the body learns kind of where, so it can flow between them, knowing that we're not here, we're actually, there's so much more potential that the body can actually tolerate once you introduce stress in a controlled way.
You said something very interesting widely about this stress, because I'm experimenting it every day of my life doing intermittent fasting, sports, high intensity interval training, cold exposure, and now I will be, well, from 1 year I've been using the Wim Hof technique here and there, not every day, but I will try to. And the really funny thing, interesting thing, is that you can find similarities in the physiology response from all those kind of activities. Which one is the secretion of dynorphin, kind of opioid, and which are opioid making the dynorphin, or just the pain when you come in a sauna, like, or in the cold water, or you're starting to use the method, the breathing method of Wim Hof. It's like, let's stop that. Let's get away. It's terrible. Danger, danger, danger. This is the message that sending to the brain by the dynorphin. But it's basically it's going out of the comfort zone. But by doing this pain, controlled pain, the dynorphin are also making more sensitive the receptors for endorphins, for the next one, for the good ones, for the ones who are coming when you go out of the ice bath and you feel, oh my God, it's so good. Or when you're starting the exercise, it's painful, you want to stop, but at some point you're gonna enjoy it. It's called the runner's high, you know, when you're running and at some point you're just full of joy and etc. And it's really interesting. Do you, in your practice, do you use other kind of hormetic process like intermittent fasting, etc.?
I have experimented with that. That was fun for a time. What I've learned, and again, especially with food over the years, I was kind of unhealthily obsessed. I mean, trying to understand and get everything right. And so the freedom that I've got now to not have to worry and be concerned is actually kind of calmed me down. There are some amazing people out there experimenting constantly with their bodies. Casper van der Molen, sort of head Wim Hof instructor, and he's written a great book about different ways to kind of control the mind, and you just see him always pushing himself in these areas. I'm less kind of physical now. I've got my yoga practice, and I do the Wim Hof Method as and when I feel it's necessary. That connection to my body it's given me tells me, okay, let's top this up. Let's to keep the immune system strong. You know, I genuinely enjoy cold exposure. And the point you made about sort of pain and then sort of switching that into something quite pleasurable. You explain it scientifically, so thank you for doing that. That I hear that a lot. You know, that kind of not just the element of challenge, but the element of fear, but this physical kind of response to the cold and as to the heat as well. You can always experiment with it, but it's like a form of catharsis for people. You know, it's really deep and very powerful as well. I think people are just so resistant to it because, you know, pain is it's not something that we run towards. As you said, that our autonomic nervous system is trained to protect us.
Yeah.
You know, to jump away in from situations, or just jump out of the way of a cold shower, whatever it is. And it's up to us to kind of think, okay, now we know that we can do more than we think. Like, where's the motivation behind it? That's also key in another topic altogether. Yeah. But that's interesting that you would then go into intermittent fasting with the same kind of approach. You know, it's like, if you're clear why you're doing it, and it's not a body issue, and you know, it's purely, I'm interested to see how this goes, then it's fascinating. Yeah. And you've actually got people like called breatharians that, you know, live off breath and they don't eat. Yeah. And I'm not interested in doing that.
Pranic
like
person,
food, but you know, if that's possible, you know, and people, wow, like there's so much out there. Yeah. And I guess I'd also like to finish by saying that Wim is doing nothing new, and he'll be the first to admit that. His breathing technique he's not patented it. You know,
he's so humble.
Do that.
That's
exactly.
what's wonderful. Yeah.
But he's a really amazing yogi, and he knows that, you know, the yogis, for example, there's other disciplines out there that are just as old, but them in particular, they've known about all this kind of stuff. You know, and when you really dive deep into the hatha yoga practices in particular, you really get a sense of like, that's a beautiful way to live. And when you've got yogis and you're looking at them like, how old are you? And he's like, you look about 40 and they're like 70. Okay, we've just kind of forgotten, and it's not to say let's all do yoga, or, you know, you find your way in, but we've forgotten that kind of connection with ourselves and what's possible. Yeah.
So how can we implement this technique, not the Wim Hof technique form, but the cold exposure, the breathing techniques, etc., in our modern life? Is that possible? Do we have time? Because I hear what the people are going to say on the internet. Oh, I don't have time. It's terrible. I have children. I have really busy work. So, is that possible, do you think?
It's tricky. You know, it's tricky. I mean, education and kind of governments getting behind it and just going, look, this is a way to self-heal. Yeah. But then, without getting too political, you've got pharmaceutical industries that are very powerful, or the pharmaceutical industry, and
I will cut that.
Well, I mean,
no.
They've met resistance themselves. I mean, like, Wim was deeply disappointed, and he's spoken publicly about this. And as soon as the results came out that showed that not only he but other people can influence the autonomic nervous system, he was like, bam, the world's going to change. And like 3 or 4 years later, he's like, why is this message not getting through? It's tricky, and it's not just because people are afraid of the cold. You know?
Yeah.
I think it's catching on a lot. The idea of consciousness, awareness, people are a bit tired of systems that we're living in and seeing that they're not working, especially the medical system. I mean, like, look to America, look to England, there's not enough money being funded. It's deeply frustrating, but all I can do, and all anyone can do that's getting behind these methods and these ideas, is lead by example.
Yeah, spread the message.
Exactly, and just be like, look, check me out. I haven't been sick for years. You know, are you interested in doing the same, or do you want to continue to rely on external medication sources? You know, it's the how we get the message across. That's the key thing. It's not like, check me out. It's like, well, yeah, wouldn't you like this too?
You can do that too. Yeah.
It's so easy.
I want to talk about a real subject I love. It is sport. Sure. Do you? So nowadays you're coaching people. Yeah, you do?
Yes.
And have you noticed any, not on the health specifically, but on performance, athlete performance, stuff like that? Is the Wim Hof technique really some kind of tweak, some kind of tool a sport guy can use on a daily basis? Is that going to be,
I mean, just learning how to use the breath to become more efficient, you know, like, just on a daily basis, I notice the difference. And so, like, you know, when you're running, I mean, look at marathon runners, you know, they're not big muscular guys. It's got nothing to do with physiology. They're really just being incredibly efficient with, like, how they breathe. I mean, there's more to it than that. But that's a big part of it. And Wim himself has trained a ton of athletes, like famous, like not famous, but you know, go to the website and check out the testimonials from them. You know, you've got people like Laird, Hamilton, one of the most famous surfers in the world. You've got Alistair, Overeem, who's like a UFC fighter, I think, and all these guys that have just said, well, this has definitely improved my performance. And why wouldn't being more efficient in breath. And it's not just about kind of breath efficiency. Like when you're able to sit in an ice bath and have complete control over your reactivity, essentially, then that's a remarkable tool. And I was working with some neuroscientists in Australia. They introduced me to this part of the brain called the insula, which has many functions, but it's also it's a lot to do with reactivity. And the Wim Hof Method definitely kind of calms that reactivity down. And again, without in sport, like when I surf, it's almost it's like a flow state, and that's a separate conversation too. But it's the same hormonal kind of process that I've noticed. You are dipping into a space where you're able to react instinctively,
clearly, and
it's not like up here. And, the connection to your body, without sounding too ethereal, is profound. And it's improved my sports performances in as much as I'm not an athlete tremendously, and lots of people are attracted to it for that reason, to make themselves a bit more kind of high performance and peak performance, you know?
Well, I explained that in another video, how the body, especially when you are exposed to cold, is making more mitochondria inside the cell, using the ICP1 alpha, the specific gene, to say to the cell, okay, let's not make energy, let's make heat. And so much more mitochondria, so much more brown adipose tissue, and you burn more fat, and etc. It's much more healthy. So really, really interesting for endurance athletes specifically. Okay, enough for the sport. Let's say I've built a time machine. I've built a time machine.
All right, carry on.
And I put you in that machine, and I send you 20 years ago, and you meet yourself, the young Richard, and you say, "Hey, Rich, here is my advices." What do you say to yourself, to your young self?
In what context? Because there's advice about relationships, there's advice about health, there's all kinds of stuff. Wow. What would I say to myself 20 years ago?
Or 10 years ago, if you want, because you're quite young. Maybe you're a child.
I would probably say to myself, stop taking life so seriously. Stop looking so much to the future and be present with each and every moment. I don't think that's anything new. That's something you realize the older you get, although the more people that I see, especially here in Bali, that are kind of making money, they're so young. You've got millionaires in their early 20s, and they've now got the kind of time to be like, okay, I'm pretty comfortable, and what else is going on? And they're diving into these esoteric disciplines, and they're starting to get it. So you got really amazing yoga teachers, like really young. I mean, experience is super important in life, but people are getting younger and younger. And yet more and more knowledgeable. So that's kind of exciting, and I would wish that for myself. I mean, I'm happy with my life, there's zero regrets. If I had that time machine, I'd probably tell myself to just put myself out there a bit more, not worry about kind of rejection and what other people thought of me so much, and just kind of live a more authentic life.
Okay, so basically you will give some advices to your young self about the mindset, which is
absolutely,
which is the third pillar of the Wim Hof technique.
Nicely done.
Yeah. So, without going too deeply inside the Wim Hof technique, the mindset. Can you talk a little bit about that? It's commitment, right? And there's someone I really love, a public figure introduced by Rich Roll during a podcast. Another Rich.
Great guy. Great guy. I love this stuff.
Yeah, and this guy is David Goggins. David Goggins is, you will find out on the internet how incredible he is. And he said the difference between motivation and commitment. Motivation is like, it's raining right now. Motivation is, okay, I'm going to run today. You wake up the next morning, okay, I'm going to run today. And outside is raining. You say, oh, okay, let's run tomorrow. This is motivation. Commitment is, okay, I'm going to run today. You open the door, it's raining. Okay, I'm going to buy a new coat and I'm going to run today. This is commitment. It's not putting some pressure on you. It's just being true to yourself true regarding your goals and your how you want to live your life, right? Is that right? Is that the right mindset? When you said commitment in the mindset, is that the notion?
I mean, as a third pillar, when I first saw it, I thought it was fairly abstract, you know. And it's like, oh, they just needed a third something to make, you know, a triangle. But it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. Mindsets, you know, mindfulness is like a buzzword now, and rightly so. You know, I think motivation and commitment, I think they're as important as each other, because you can have all the commitment in the world, but if your motivation isn't really there, if it's not intrinsic,
of course, then
you can sort of buy all the gear and have no idea, and then be like, I'm committed to doing this, but if the why underneath isn't really authentic, then it's never going to work out. So I think they're really both really important. Commitment's the third pillar, as also known as mindset. Meaning, motivation will get you started. Commitment will see you through, right? Yeah. So many people come to my workshops and other instructors' workshops, no doubt, and they're like, oh, that was amazing, that felt great. They go home and do it on their own. They won't get quite that kind of deep sense that, you know, the collective will give them. Like, oh, it wasn't as good, and it's like, stay with the process, and you're not doing this for a goal. And like, my motivation was clear, and I had commitment because I was like coming out of my comfort zone. I enjoyed it, and this cold shower thing, I mean, I'm just someone that wants to experiment and learn and grow, you know, despite pain. It's kind of like you won't get anywhere without encountering these places. But so many people won't stick to it. They'll kind of be, they're like, it's okay, and like, guys, look, it's like a 10-week program, you know, I mean, give it 3 weeks, and if you'll notice some benefits, you will. But so many people won't stick to that, and it's because the motivation's not there. You know, and it's a shame, because like so many things in life, you've got different kinds of people, right? There's people that buy all the gear and they go, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this, and they never get started.
You want the shortcut. They want the shortcut. It's terrible, because it's the society we created. Yeah, we are the guilty here, but yeah.
The French?
Of course. Specifically the French one. But
so, such an easy target, sorry. You're right. You're right. It's a dirty word, I think. You know, it's one of my favorite quotes is from Richard Ayling. He's like, everyone wants the shortcut, but it's like, it's the inside job, you know, and that's no shortcut. You know, if you want to grow, develop, personally, spiritually, from a health perspective, there are no shortcuts to that. You can take supplements if you want, and I'm not going to say anything negative about them. They have a role. But, you know, it's like, that's the shortcut, and it will lead you to peak performance briefly. But so many things out there are kind of not sustainable unless you're willing to take the kind of the long road and commit to something. And not for an expected outcome. You know, that's when it gets super problematic. It's like, are you into this process? So many people are like, well, I hate getting into the cold showers. Are you really healthy? Yeah, okay, well then don't do it. You find something else, you know, go to the sauna or do yoga, whatever it is. But you're right, the society we live in now is based around shortcuts, and people are just like, I want this, and it's like, oh, that's crap. Or, how long is it going to take me? It's like, how cheap is it? You know, and you're like, okay, all right. It's tricky.
My brother always say, always, not always, but sometimes say, that in the search of the Holy Grail, what is really important is not the Holy Grail, it's the search. And I think it's the key here.
A curious mind is, you know, is not necessarily a searching one. You know, it's like if we were again attached to outcome and goal, like it's just not super helpful. Like to be curious, to be like, oh, what's that? You know? That's kind of what attracts people a lot to Wim, don't you think?
Like, exactly.
Who is this guy? How is he? You know, what's going on with that? He's such a character. You know? I wouldn't go as far as to say a commodity, because he actually the commodity is this beautiful technique which, you know, anyone can teach themselves and use. But the person himself, that's a lot of people are attracted to that, because he doesn't seem bound by anything that we're doing in society. He'll rock up on stage and do a TED talk in Bermuda shorts and scraggly hair, and it's like, yeah, why not? You know?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, he's alive. I think so. Yeah, definitely. Rich, it has been a really interesting talk. Thank you so much for your time. If people want to connect with you, how is that possible? On the social media? If they want to participate to a workshop?
Good way to follow workshop events is my Facebook and my Instagram.
Yeah, I will put the links, of course, on the video.
I have a kind of basic website which explains this stuff as well. And of course the WimHofMethod.com is I'm listed on there, and it tells you all about the method itself, and that's a good starting place. Because I'm here in Bali and I do my stuff here, I do stuff locally and around, but there's so many other instructors, so no matter where you are in the world, you're not too far away from them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Rich, for your time.
Pleasure, man.
Yeah, and see you next time.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Ноги